Hi, Scott Picken here, CEO and founder of Wealth Migrate, and coming live for another Wealth Insight from the beautiful heads here in Knysna. And I'm loving it. People are starting to use the hashtag AskScottAnything, and I've got another question. What are your top 3 tips for the best markets and the best type segments of property or real estate investing? So let's go straight at it. So I highly recommend downloading the book. It's free. Go to propertygoingglobal.com and you'll read all about the system that I built that was endorsed by Clem Sunter. We later evolved that into GIDS, our global investment due diligence system, that is one of the most advanced systems in the world to help you know where to invest, when to invest, who to invest, what to invest in, and how to invest, between different countries, different cities, how to get the right partners, etc. So go read the book and or go to the website or do a Google search for GIDS, and you'll get a lot more information on that. But let's go to the top 3 things. So I would say the first thing that you need to look for is a first world country that's stable. So you want to make sure that where you're investing is that the currency and that the asset class that you're investing in is stable. If you had invested your money in Cyprus and it was in the bank, you lost it. Like that's not stable. If you invested your money in Zimbabwe, they just took the land. Like that's not stable. I was on a webinar yesterday in Indonesia where people go and buy houses in Bali and the government just takes them away. That's not stable. So you need to go to countries where, like England, Australia, and America, that are stable. If you speak English, it's really important that you go to countries where you speak English. It's hard enough to understand contract law in your own country, let alone going to a foreign country, and now you've got to do it in a foreign language through an interpreter. So, I tend to say focus on where you understand the rules of the game. The second thing for me is that, it sort of ties in, but, you've got to be in a legal structure where you're protected. You've got to be in a place where the rights of land are protected, the rights of asset ownership are protected. That's not the case in the emerging world. You can have a dictator come in and things can change very quickly. And so, it's about wealth protection. You need to make sure that a lot of people talk about return on capital, but the most important thing is return of capital, making sure that your investments are safe. And, another reason I invest in England, Australia, and America is because I know that when I buy real estate there, I own it and I'll own it forever. And equally, if a tenant doesn't pay, I can kick them out. The courts work. If people do the wrong thing, I can sue them. It works. It doesn't work in the emerging world. In China and Africa, it doesn't work. And that's why people invest in the first world. And then lastly, you've got to look for countries and cities where there's population growth. You've got to look for as Clem Sunter says, America is far better than Europe. Europe's an old age home. Even China is becoming an old age home, where you've got to look for a youthful population that's growing, because that leads to economic growth. And then you've got to invest in cities where there's growth. If you take America, Atlanta is growing massively because it's the most affordable place, one of the best places in America to live, from an affordability perspective and to get a job. Whereas Detroit is dying. 25% of the city is derelict. So you need to be in cities that are growing. And really all I would say to you is that it's all about long-term fundamentals. The fundamentals of investing in real estate never change. So you need to understand the fundamentals, and that's why I would suggest going to Property Going Global. And in terms of sectors, I would go for long-term trends. Again, look at the medical center. In the first world, there's aging populations. More and more people need medical and aged care. It's a very resilient long-term. As I always say in medical, no matter what happens in the economy, people need doctors. Doctors never leave their premises. And doctors are very good at being doctors. They're not accountants. They sign very good long-term leases. It's an absolute no-brainer. When you consider that. Multifamily in America is another great one. Where you basically have, you own the entire building, 252 units, and it's affordable housing, and that's exactly what's needed in America. In Australia, we're doing cold storage. No matter how good 3D printing and drones get, people are still going to want food, and it's going to need to be close to residential areas, so we're buying cold storage units. And in England, one of the things I love there is we're buying up old pubs, and we're renovating them, and we are converting them into Sainsbury's, Tesco's, convenience stores basically. The average British person goes to a convenience store 8 times a week. So you might notice what I'm saying. Focus long-term trends, and that's where you'll find your wealth long-term. So that's all from me, signing out. I know it's quite a long Wealth Insight. Don't forget to go to Property Going Global and download that book. Continue to listen to these Wealth Insights, and if you enjoy them, subscribe to the channel. But most importantly, we want to empower 1 billion people. Please help me. Share it with your friends. Empower people. Give them access to knowledge. It's free, and I truly believe everyone should get access to the right knowledge. Until next week. Cheers.